Welcome to an Achieving Science video. This video is all about transects. Let's begin with an example. Let's choose a forest. If you were asked to look at this habitat and then draw conclusions from it, you might be challenged. The reason for being challenged is that for large areas, if you were asked to count every single plant, every single animal, it'd be extremely time consuming. Instead, what we do is we use a device called a quadrat. This is shown in the picture. A quadrat is an extremely important tool because it's used to determine the distribution and abundance of species in an ecosystem. So what is a transect then? Well, a transect is a line across a habitat or part of a habitat. Now there can be systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is where, for example, we can use a tape measure to measure a straight line of, say, 10 meters from a tree. This would provide us with a line transect. Next, we would place a quadrat at regular intervals, e.g. every 1 meter along the transect. So we maybe start at the tree, move 1 meter, place a quadrat, move 1 meter, place another quadrat, move 1 meter, replace the quadrat. Every time we place that quadrat, we would count the number of organisms in each species and record them. It is also normal that during this process to record any abiotic conditions. For instance, the amount of light, the soil pH could be recorded. This information then can be used later to form a conclusion about possible differences in the distribution of organisms. Still, there might be a problem because within a quadrat, you might also need to require to count everything. That's very difficult and again, time consuming. So therefore, what we can also use is percentage cover, which can be more appropriate to do. So we can say the percentage cover of grass within a quadrat is, for instance, 80%. So let's have a look at some examples. If we place some quadrats on the ground, so here we've got 3 quadrats. Within each of these quadrats, we find some daisies that are covering the ground. Now, rather than counting them all up and being there for a longer period of time, because this isn't just 3 quadrats, if you were doing several of these and repeating it, it would take even longer to do. Instead, we can have an estimate at what the percentage cover is in each of them. So for instance, I might have a guess that the first one is about 10%, the second one about 50%, and the third one possibly none, so 0%. Now another alternative is just to do random sampling. This is a different method. First of all, you need your location, so maybe a school field. You mark out your area and then begin to allocate coordinates to each of your areas. This works particularly well if you can use like a square. So for instance, if you mark out 10 meters in one direction and 10 meters at 90 degrees to that, you can have a 10 by 10 square. If you then divide up those squares into 10 by 10, as shown in the diagram, it makes it easier to assign coordinates to this area. Now you then need to randomly select these coordinates. This needs to be random. The most common method nowadays is just to use a random number generator in a computer, but it could be from a book as well. This will identify the quadrat to go and look in, or the coordinate to go and look in. Place the quadrat in that location, and then record the percentage cover or the number of organisms, whichever is appropriate for your sampling. You'll then repeat it for different areas within your zone that you've chosen to do. Now remember, it needs to be representative, so think about how many repeats that you would require. This is all dependent upon the size of the area that you've chosen to look at. Once the sampling is all completed, you can also work out an average for the whole area and then compare this to maybe different areas or areas within the zone that you've chosen.